The Zephyrian research station buzzed with frustrated chatter as another medic emerged from the containment bay, nursing fresh bite marks on their scaled forearm. Commander Thekra's 3 eyes narrowed as he watched the procession of wounded staff members filing past his office. "How many today?" he asked his aide, a nervous million whose feathers ruffled with each distant snarl from the containment area. "7, sir. The new specimen has injured 17 personnel in 3 rotations." James Morrison looked up from his data pad, where he'd been cataloging the failed attempts to approach the creature. As the station's human xenobiologist, he'd observed dozens of species, but nothing quite like this. The cub, if it could be called that, stood no taller than his knee, resembled a cross between Earth's honey badger and a porcupine, and possessed an apparently inexhaustible supply of rage. "Perhaps we should consider termination protocols," suggested Dr. Vex Nor, the Zephyrian head of research, his translator device crackling with static. "The specimen shows no signs of domestication potential." "Wait," James interjected, closing his data pad. "Let me try something first. I'd like to bring in Lisa." The room fell silent. Commander Thekra's central eye fixed on James while the other 2 swiveled to track the movement of staff in the corridor. "The human child?" Dr. Vexnor's translator emitted what could only be described as electronic disbelief. "You wish to expose a juvenile of your species to a hostile alien predator?" James smiled, an expression that always seemed to unnerve his alien colleagues. "Trust me, Lisa has a way with difficult animals." 20 minutes later, 12-year-old Lisa Morrison sat cross-legged on the cold metal floor of the containment bay, separated from the snarling creature by nothing but 3 feet of recycled air. The observation deck above buzzed with nervous energy as every off-duty staff member crowded to witness what they were certain would be a tragedy. The cub, which the science team had designated as Specimen X-47, pressed itself against the far wall. Its quills were fully extended, creating a bristling crown around its compact body. Bioluminescent patches along its flanks pulsed rapid orange, a pattern the computers had identified as extreme agitation. Lisa made no move toward the creature. She simply sat, breathing slowly, occasionally humming a soft tune her grandmother had taught her years ago on Earth. Her dark eyes never left the cub, but there was no challenge in her gaze, only patience. "Fascinating," Dr. Vexnor whispered into his recorder. "The human juvenile displays no fear response despite clear threat indicators." James watched his daughter through the reinforced viewing port, pride swelling in his chest. At 12, Lisa had already helped him with field research on 3 different worlds. She possessed an intuitive understanding of animal behavior that his xenobiology training could only approximate. The cub's quills gradually lowered. Its bioluminescent patches shifted from frantic orange to a cautious yellow-green. After what felt like hours but measured only 37 minutes, it took a tentative step toward the center of the enclosure. Lisa continued her soft humming, occasionally whispering words in English too quiet for the translators to catch. The cub crept closer, its movements becoming less defensive and more curious. When it reached the halfway point, it sat down, mirroring Lisa's cross-legged position with its 4 stubby legs tucked beneath its body. "Remarkable," breathed Commander Thekra. "Look at the bioluminescence pattern." The creature's flanks now glowed a soft blue-white, pulsing in slow, rhythmic waves. Dr. Vexnor's datapad chimed as the computer identified the pattern: contentment and trust. "How is this possible?" whispered the million aide, her feathers settling as her anxiety decreased. 17 trained professionals couldn't approach it safely. James adjusted his position at the viewing port, never taking his eyes off Lisa. Humans have a saying, "Still waters run deep." Sometimes the quietest approach is the most powerful one. As the station's artificial day cycle dimmed toward evening, Lisa began singing instead of humming. Her voice, clear and gentle, filled the containment bay with an ancient Earth lullaby. The cub's eyes, 3 of them, James noted, similar to the Zephyrians, began to droop. Slowly, carefully, the creature lowered itself until it lay curled on the metal floor. Its bioluminescent patches faded to a barely perceptible golden glow. Within minutes, it was asleep. Lisa remained motionless for another hour, ensuring the cub's rest was deep and peaceful. When she finally stood, she moved with the fluid grace of someone who understood that sudden movements could shatter the fragile trust she'd built. The observation deck erupted in amazed chatter as Lisa exited the containment bay. Commander Thekra met her in the corridor, his 3 eyes wide with something approaching reverence. "How?" he asked simply. Lisa shrugged, a gesture that translated across species as casual indifference to extraordinary achievement. "Dad always says animals can sense fear and aggression. I wasn't scared, and I didn't want to hurt it, so—" She paused, searching for words. "I just waited for it to realize I wasn't a threat." Dr. Vex Nor approached, his scales shimmering with what James had learned indicated deep respect among Zephyrians. "In all my years studying interspecies contact protocols, I have never witnessed such intuitive communication." James placed a gentle hand on Lisa's shoulder. "Humans have been living alongside other species for millennia. We learned long ago that sometimes the best way to make friends is simply to sit quietly and let the other person or creature make the first move." Over the following weeks, Lisa spent time with the cub daily. Under her patient guidance, it learned to accept food from other handlers and even tolerated basic medical examinations. The research team discovered it was actually a highly intelligent species, capable of complex problem-solving and emotional bonding. When the cub was eventually relocated to a specialized habitat on the research station's companion vessel, it had become the first successful case of interspecies domestication in Galactic Alliance history. The research protocols developed from Lisa's approach became standard practice throughout the scientific community. Commander Thekra filed his final report with a note that would be quoted in xenobiological textbooks for generations. "Sometimes the greatest strength is the willingness to sit still and wait. The humans, it seems, have mastered this art in ways we are only beginning to understand."